Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the New Fashion Conservatives podcast. I'm your host, Justin Phillips, and with me, as always, the man known to the X-verse as Shadow Governor Voss.
Robin Voss's strongest soldier.
And how are we doing today?
Fantastic.
Let's get it going. So we've had a real interesting week. We're going to break down a couple of new candidates to the Wisconsin gubernatorial race, as well as talking about some stuff that happened in the Wisconsin state legislature this week. So let's start it off. The sequel nobody asked for, Kelda Roys, has declared her candidacy for governor. I know you're super excited about this, Shadow Gov, so let's get to it.
I couldn't be happier. We've been waiting for this for months. No, I mean, it hasn't been quite that long. But basically, since Evers has announced that he was going to retire, this was a done deal, but she's just been toying with the media. Yes, I am making the full intention of running, but just finally doing it. Finally taking the leap. It's happened. We are all better because of it. I'm just looking forward to her exploiting every nook and cranny, her being ruthlessly efficient in trying to take down her opponents in the Democrat primary, of course. And I think she's going to, she's lost a few times. I think if she loses again, she's just going to go the way of State Senator Tim Carpenter and just be a career state senator. And I know she doesn't want that. So just kind of make or break it.
Now, we have a couple different opinions on her launch video and subsequent, first couple days of her campaign. So why don't you talk about why you liked her video, and I'll talk about why I didn't.
Well, I liked that, from the Democrat perspective, she's the socialist adjacent lane with the wine moms. So that's kind of what we're getting, where she's straddling the line between wine moms and full on, Antifa socialist, essentially, which is a delicate act. I'll give her, and I think she did an okay job of it in her video. Although personally, I absolutely despise when candidates have cursive as their logo, and Kelda is in cursive, along with then the Roys is capitalized and bold and just normal, like Arial, black, whatever. But the Kelda is in cursive, and it's just hard to read. It's not super hard. I mean, I know cursive, so
Sure.
But if you're on a yard sign and you're just in passing, you're like, what's that, Roys? Okay. And the last name is, I guess, is what is important.
No, see, I would have thought she would have gone with the mononym. She's Kelda, as opposed Kamala.
Mm-hmm. Kamala.
Yeah,
Kamala.
I figured she'd go with the first name only.
Yeah, but I mean, I could see that too. But I mean, I don't think she's afforded that much. I mean, at least I assume that she had more name recognition in her neck of the woods, but apparently not, which is why she only raised $75,000.
Yeah,
which I'm not an expert on these things, but I feel like if you are only raising $75K for someone that has run for Congress,
yep, and lost by 51 points to Mark Pocan in 2012,
and then run for governor
and lost.
You've been a state senator for a number of years now. You've got 3 assembly districts. You've probably got 150,000 people in your Senate district.
Yeah,
I feel like you might have a little bit more pull than 75K.
Yeah, that's like the country's okayest congressional hall in a safe district.
Yeah.
Like if Mark Pocan announced he raised $75,000, we'd be like, okay, that's fine, because no one's going to run against him. Same thing. Scott Fitzgerald raised $75,000. We'd be like, yeah, it's good enough.
Yeah.
No one needs you to spend money campaigning in your district. But for a statewide race, as you try to carve out your spot, again, as the champion of progressive woke white women everywhere, $75,000 isn't going to get it done. And so I think she's stumbled out of the gate in a very similar way to Sarah Russell Rodriguez and leaves the door open. Now, when I watched her video, I thought the timing of it was frankly sickening. when you look at the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which happened just a week prior. For her to give this over-the-top, hyperbolic, blue anon, boomer, left-wing rage bait, greatest hits montage of progressive panic in a 3-minute introductory ad. It was Trump this, Elon that, extremists threatening democracy. Never mind that the actual extremists are on her side of the party of, Tyler Robinson, Robert Westman, or Thomas Crooks. Like, those are the extremists. Trump and Elon aren't, the threats to democracy that the folks on the left killing Republicans are. So I thought that was over the top. I would have expected more from her to not, again, go to that hyperbolic edge of semi-socialist politics.
Oh, I think, I'll take the contrarian position. I think that's totally, I'm not surprised by this at all. And I think she, I wasn't surprised at all by a lot of the imagery, which I am a little surprised that we're still bringing Elon up. Mm-hmm. Elon's been very quiet. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if they're just trying to straw man him a little bit. Obviously, he played a big role in the Supreme Court of Wisconsin race, which I guess you could see as a detriment to Republicans at this point. But I did want to mention that she did manage the selfless plug, where she managed to put in her campaign ad for governor her old campaign ad with her breastfeeding, of course, which was a whole thing that she
the level of the pander she's gone to in that first ad. And again, she goes back to 2012 when she was in the state capitol when Act 10 was going on, and ever since she's spent the rest of her time yelling at clouds about Scott Walker for the last decade. Like, fairly disappointing overall experience. And personally, I think she has no depth on any issues. Once you get beyond the left-wing bumper sticker quote, she's vapid. She doesn't know policy. So again, very much like Kamala, like, she could fit that to a T because she doesn't know policy and is just gonna play the greatest progressive panic hits over the next 6 to 8 months while her campaign goes on.
To play contrarian again, is what Democrat politics are actually greater than an inch deep. All of their politics are just... It's all bumper sticker slogans. Yeah, it's all bumper sticker slogans, but they also are like, well, why don't we just ban all of this or give everybody this? Universal this, ban that. Yeah, so it's like, it's pretty, if you're talking about actual policy, that's okay, pretty straightforward. Mm-hmm. It's an all or nothing approach type of thing. Now, I'm being obviously not charitable, of course, but universal health care, universal child care, those are kind of complicated issues, of course, but it's easier to give everybody everything than pick a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So.
And that'll work for ads. Again, when you're going for deranged, woke white women as your base, that'll work in debates when you're just trying to get a zinger across. But any decent political journo in Wisconsin wants to ask, how are you going to accomplish this with a Republican legislature? How are you going to get the votes for that? You're going to watch them spin their wheels and stammer and stutter and not be able to articulate anything of a policy position.
Well, yeah, and but I don't think their voters are looking for that either. Like, even if a Molly Beck or a other political reporter for the Capitol were to ask someone, not even Kelda, just any other Democrat for governor, their voters they don't care. I highly doubt that there are any Democrat voters out there that are caring about the nuances of like actual policy discussions. And outside of the we hate Trump, as long as you stand up to Trump in everything, you have my undying support.
You think you just need that hyperbolic, blue anon, like blue meat. I don't know. We call it red meat on our side. Is it blue meat on the other side?
No. Well, I don't know what it is. But the Dan Schafers of the world, who are probably a little bit more policy oriented, I think that is very far and few between.
Okay.
That actually want that. I think most of the Social Security Americans that support the Democrats just want to oppose Donald Trump at every possible juncture. And that's really all they care about.
Well, there is another candidate, though, that declared a day after Kelda that seems to be trying to swoop in and steal that same section of the electorate.
Coincidence? I think not.
Alexandria Ocasio-Hong, the ramen socialist, an unapologetically profane state representative from the Madison area, just launched her campaign. And I think we want to play a couple minutes of that ad, again, to show the contrast between Kelda and Frankie.
It's so stressful to get by these days, and I know a lot about stress. I work in restaurants. I started in this kitchen 15 years ago, and you might recognize what's across the street. A lot of people in that building don't get why it's so hard to get by right now. Working hard doesn't mean you can always keep up. One wrong step can lay you out flat. This is by design. I'm State Representative Francesca Hong. I'm a service worker, community organizer, and a mom. I work for a living. Always have, still do. 5 years ago, my community sent me to the Capitol. The system is rigged. I'm running for governor to fix it. For years, we've been told that doing better isn't possible. Well, let me tell you, that's bullshit. All we need to do is fight together. We can fully fund our public schools and have universal childcare. We can guarantee paid leave and have cheaper health care. We can fix a rigged system that puts oligarchs over workers and small businesses. We can do better. Don't let anyone tell you we can't do this. We can build a Wisconsin where we share the table. I'm Francesca Hong, and I'm running for governor because I know that together we make better possible.
Now, see, frankly, I think that's how you launch a progressive campaign. That's how you get you hit on the forgotten millennial who can't afford a house, can't afford childcare because their boomer parents are lording over their 7-figure property that they bought for 7 buttons and some blueberries. Like, she hits that in a way that Kelda doesn't, and hits it in a more genuine, softer, more appealing way.
I mean, Hong mentions oligarchs. She's hitting a lot of the buzzwords. Workers over, billionaires, oligarchs, stuff like that. So, and this is kind of the differentiating line where Hong is clearly going for more the strict socialist route, although not saying socialist, where Kelda has now been, she agrees with Hong on probably everything, but she's trying to be socialist adjacent with the white liberal wine mom in, Greater Dane County, right. Waukesha, Ozaukee County. Don't have to deal with crime type of thing.
Exactly.
They ignore it because they don't see it, but they love their social issues type of thing. But they like their low taxes.
Right.
The people that probably voted for Scott Walker, but then, the social issues became very prominent with Trump, and then it was all downhill from there. So yes, they're in 2 distinct lanes, even though they both share the same ideas. So how this is going to be a test of who can market those ideas the best.
And based off that, I think it's Francesca Hong.
So far, and I think it's not, you don't even have to use a subjective metric, is she's raised more money.
Yep.
Kelda Roys raised $75K in the first 24 hours. And then Francesca Hong raised $115 in 36 hours. So maybe they've raised the same amount, I guess, in 24 hours, depending on how you slice it or dice it. But, I saw even yesterday, there was, the socialists online are very connected. They all know each other. And I saw there was one of these socialist X accounts. They raised $20,000 for Francesca Hong.
Yeah.
Through a live stream. So
yeah, I think you said that video itself had over 1 million plays.
It's just under 1 million.
Sure,
plays.
or just under 1 million, and that's 10x, 5x. Kelda's.
I don't actually remember what it was, but I don't remember it being
right.
Memorable enough to come up in my feed again.
Right. No, she's obviously emboldened by Zoran Mondami's campaign in New York City for mayor. And I think she's not going to just pull fundraising dollars from that. She might pull staff who, after Zoran's campaign, are going to be looking for the next hot socialist. And they're going to look at Frankie, our ramen socialist, and be ready to jump in behind her. I think overall, we're going to look at her first or maybe her second financial report, and we're going to see more low-dollar donors from outstate than in the state of Wisconsin. It's going to come from San Francisco. It's going to come from New York City. It's going to come from those, left-wing enclaves that want a socialist-type candidate that is marketable. Again, and Kelda is not that right now.
Not yet. We'll see if she gets pulled or lurches to the left. But as I've talked kind of off the mic before, I think Kelda's going to try really hard to stay in this lane. And she will only start potentially drifting into more of the socialist lane if she feels like she has to try to win the primary.
I would not put it past Kelda, especially, but Kelda or Francesca to just shank the other one at their first opportunity. And it comes when one of them shows a little bit of a gap between socialist policies and tacking towards the middle, because at some point they're going to realize that they have to win a general if they're going to, make it. And I don't know if Kelda can do that. I don't think Frankie can do that. One of the things we kind of hit it on, the video on that sounded a little weird. The video looks weird. The sound's a little weird. I think it was shot on an iPhone.
Yeah, and this is the perfectionist in me. Yeah, the audio, there was something slightly off on the audio. Like maybe it was compressed or like just a little scratchy. Now, I shouldn't complain. It's a technical thing. I'm not an expert, but I know enough to get by. Some of the, audio for the podcast have been a little rough sometimes. I apologize. But, again, if you showed the video to any normal person that isn't like me, they'll be, oh, yeah, that's totally fine. I just wouldn't, and I'm not that I have great connections with other socialists, but my only context is really Zoran Mamdani. He's got a bang-up crew that do audio visuals for him. Really great. All of his videos slap as far as like engagement and like keeping you to attention. And I don't have no reason to see why Francesca Hong wouldn't do the same thing. Do a little bit of swearing, a little bit of F this, F that to get people's attention, and then kind of go into some kind of screed or something similar to Zoran. I don't know if Francesca's going to start be talking about halal, or something, but, maybe something else. Yeah.
I think you said there's something that doesn't totally jive on that video that to the eye is going to look a little odd. But she did bring up swearing. She did fit in a cute little bullshit in her video, and
which is going to be endearing to the young people.
Maybe the Democrats seem to think that fighting and getting down and dirty means swearing, and I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I frankly think it's a bit unbecoming, but so I was actually surprised that she only had one swear in there. But then she sent out her first fundraising text that basically said, "Listen, fuckers, I'm running for governor, bitch," and was off to the races. So she's going to have that foul mouth for the rest of the campaign. And I don't think it will resonate with enough voters. I think it comes off as disingenuous. It comes off as hollow. It's not going to, but we'll find out if Kelda starts swearing.
Well, yeah. And again, this isn't Tony Evers. We're fixing the damn roads. This is a much different situation. That was somewhat endearing, and he only did it for just that situation. Francesca will just swear.
Yeah, I mean, she's
all the time
said a lot worse, a lot more often. One thing I do want to highlight, though, is WQOW had this AP interview where she said she was promising to be a wild card in joining the race for governor. And we'll focus, of course, on a progressive agenda. Now, the words wild card, to me, indicate that she is creating a permission structure for herself to say the most reprehensible things imaginable and attack Republicans in, again, diabolical ways without any consequence. I think she thinks that she just gave herself free range to say anything she wants to. Again, to drag the primary as far left as possible and to probably piss off 51% of the electorate that is going to vote Republican. But it also, with that in mind, it wouldn't surprise me that the first of her northern Wisconsin campaign events will be at Minocqua Brewing, where she will do everything she can to get Kirk Bangstad's endorsement before Kelda.
At the end of the day, the swearing isn't the thing that's reprehensible, though. It's the politics. It's her policies.
Sure.
Which, again, Kelda and Hong share probably 95% of that. So, elections are about differentiating, showing clear differences, making it easier for voters to say, I like this, not that. I'm going to vote for this person over that, not that. So it's going to be interesting who's going to, is someone going to try to blur the lines? Is someone going to try to make clear delineations? Because, this is the dynamics of the primary. I think Hong is playing probably loose and fast with house money. I have nothing to lose.
Right.
I have no problem
she's declared
lurching to the left.
She's declared far enough in advance that if she wants to drop out by February, March, doesn't get the traction she hopes she wants, she can drop back into her assembly district. What I think right now, though, is you have Kelda and Francesca trying to operate in the same lane. I don't know where Sarah tacks to because of this. David Crowley has his own problems and, benefits as a Milwaukee County Democrat. I think that, in the end will be more problematic than helpful, but he has his own coalition. There's still maybe a candidate out there on the left that she thinks she can find a lane. But right now, I think if I may, I think Josh Kaul is just hanging out like a fire extinguisher with a in case of emergency break glass sign over him. I think he's looking at the field and thinking that he might have a lane if someone is willing to step up and say, we need to draft Josh Kaul at this time. The same way George Clooney wrote a letter in the New York Times saying Joe Biden needs to step aside. I think Josh Kaul is waiting for the call from the right Democrat establishment folks, the right donors to say you actually need to step in, because otherwise we got three crazy gals and an unelectable Milwaukee Democrat. We need someone who can actually find a lane to win.
So Kaul is waiting for the call to the bullpit to be called up.
Just lots of call in there.
Lots of calls. I'm going to take the contrarian position, there's a lot of contrarian positions tonight, which is a great thing. We have heard just absolutely nothing, not a whisper, not a planted story, not a inclination that he's going to run for governor. And when we started this show in June, which seems wild to think about now, he was the heavy favorite, 2-1, whatever you want to say, heavy favorite to be the nominee. And I am now moving my Shadow Governor Voss crystal ball predictions to 50-50 that he runs at all for governor.
The SGVCB, we're going to call it.
SGVCB.
Yep.
SGVCB. There you go. Not to be confusing. So, I think it's basically a toss-up that he even runs. And I'm going to, depending if this continues another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, the odds will continue to dwindle, especially with such a crowded primary. Maybe he feels like he's the attorney general. He's still the most well-known in the crowd as far as name ID. He can afford to announce later. Maybe let some of the candidates beat up on each other early. Maybe that's the strategy, but you would feel that we would get some kind of inclination, similar to like Tom Tiffany, who's been teasing to run for
let's
a couple of months
Let's
now.
shift to that right now, because I think I'm going to find the tweet or X post from the Wisconsin CRs. Wisconsin CRs put out a post hinting that there's going to be an announcement from Tom Tiffany in
Wausau, September 24th.
Yeah.
A special announcement. Now, I'm not trying to read between the lines here, but it definitely sounds like someone's, announcing like a new book deal or something.
Right. No, credit to Liz Wolnick, friend of the show, who said it would be hilarious if it weren't the thing we all think it is. And I got to laugh like that. Come on. What is it if it's not a run for governor?
He's going to start selling pickles from, the family farm or something. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love the pickle ad too. His ad from the last couple of years, he, has his mother with it, and they talk about politics is like pickles. Mm-hmm. Great ad.
We're going to see the Tom Tiffany for governor pickle ornament come Christmas time.
Fantastic. Electric, and again, let's not put the cart before the horse. Mm-hmm. We don't know what the announcement's going to be about, but we might have some movement on the Republican side of things. Mm-hmm. We've heavily talked about the Democrats, which great. Mm-hmm. Love to see that clown car expand, but yes, I'm not going to couch it in anything else. We're just going to have to wait and see.
No, but I want to take a moment. I don't want to tease too much, but our show is going to have some fun stuff coming up with some Wisconsin Republicans that I'm really excited for. So gonna have to like, share, and subscribe to the show to be first to hear about our upcoming interviews that I just want to talk about right now, but we're going to save that because it's going to be great. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to it. But I do want to talk about another clown car that has gained a member. And I don't know why I've become so interested in this, but the Wisconsin 1st Congressional District, so Brian Stiles' seat, another Democrat has announced for that role. And I'm just going to read briefly from this Racine County Eye article of Miguel Aranda, a longtime educator and first-time candidate, is running for Wisconsin's first congressional district. He is currently a member of the Whitewater Unified School District School Board and serves as vice president. He works as an associate director of college readiness program and previously held jobs in fast food, manufacturing, retail, and caregiving. Not that it really matters, but currently there are like 5 candidates for the Wisconsin 1st Congressional District on the Democrat side that are all indistinguishable from each other in one way or another. Outside of Randy Bryce, who's just run multiple times, would it surprise you to know that there are 5 candidates?
Well, I know we've talked about a few of them, but it just seems like they're multiplying. I mean, they're like bunnies. They just keep on popping up. And who wants to run? I mean, who wants to run against Brian Stiles? The man works harder than everybody else. He is everywhere. D.C., Wisconsin. He's doing the Fox News hits. The man doesn't sleep.
Mm-hmm. That's what surprised me. You got Miguel Aranda now. You have Mitchell Berman, Randy Bryce, Enrique Castellano, and Gage Stills. Could you tell me anything that separates those 5 candidates? Could you right now?
Probably the only thing that separates them is who loses by more.
Right. And we don't see this with Scott Fitzgerald. We don't see this with Glenn Grothman. We don't see this with Tony Weed or even Tom Tiffany, that there are 5 people lining up to lose to this guy. And it's confusing to me. I wonder, have the Democrats nationally and in the state of Wisconsin so written off the 1st Congressional District that they think, well, let's just have as many people as possible run and we'll throw them at the wall and see which one sticks? Because last cycle, Peter Barca ran against Brian and got smoked. And that was a cycle when we thought the Democrats thought they were going to do pretty well.
He was on the targeted list.
Right. And you have someone he was a former member of Congress for a hot second. He finished out Les Aspin's term before Mark Newman. You've got, he was the current or former Secretary of the Department of Revenue under Tony Evers. He was a longtime member of the State Assembly and minority leader. May have been in the majority at some point. Don't quite recall. But overall, he has a long resume in politics that spans multiple roles in the state and in D.C. So you would have thought someone like that was going to make a run at Brian Style. It could have been Peter, and he got smoked.
Well, if I'm the Democrats, you almost have to target Brian's seat just because of the partisanship, level that it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if Donald Trump is winning the first congressional by a sizable amount, I mean, the catastrophic implosion of Brian Style that you have to have is almost unimaginable.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Style would really have to make a major hiccup to actually lose at this rate, or have the national environment swing so far against the Republicans, which we'll see. But I think the Democrats are looking at a pipe dream right now as far as unseating him.
In other races, you have an established candidate running against Derek Van Orden. The rest of the state seems to have, that I'm aware of, virtually no one challenging sitting incumbents. Brian Style has 5 opponents. Now, they're all going to subdivide the same amount, and this is why I think Randy Bryce is ultimately going to come out of this and lose 60-40 at best, because he's going to have the name ID while the other guys are going to be fighting over the scraps. So
good luck.
Yeah. And so let's move a bit to some state politics. We're going to shift into this and then some candy. So we're going to talk about some state assembly, state senate news that's been going on. Shadow Governor has been following this most recent issue closely, which is some death threats that a state representative named Jerry O'Connor has been receiving on, I think, Wednesday of this week.
So, yes, Representative O'Connor was receiving some death threats and actually had to cancel his committee hearing, chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, and had to cancel that in lieu of because of some death threats that happened. And, of course, with the Charlie Kirk events, everyone is on high alert, taking things very seriously. Just thought it would be best to cancel that. Now, there's a video of a floor speech that he gave that I believe prompted many of those death threats. Before I play that, I'll give even a little bit more context. The bill that he is speaking on is a flag banning bill. Now, the liberals love to show that we are a conquered nation and raise the flag of the LGBTQ Pride Progress flag. And, every sodomy month or July, they raise this flag. Is it June or is it July? It's June.
It's June.
It is June. Sorry. July is America month. June is sodomy month. That being said, they raise this flag showing that they've conquered the United States. It's this whole ritual. This bill would ban all political flags. Your LGBTQ Pride Progress flag, BLM, Blue Lives Matter, the Gadsden flag.
This bans, it's not just the Pride flag. You're right. It's the Blue Lives Matter. It's the
any
thin blue line.
Overtly political flag, and we will reserve state and local buildings to United States flag, the Wisconsin flag, the POW flag, and other state-sanctioned flags.
Which is pretty much those three, maybe a military flag or something.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Very limited, though. Bans all of those. Okay. Now I'm going to play the video.
Today's remembrance, and it's also a new day of sadness. So on September 11th, we are acknowledging those who lost their lives in Washington and in D.C. 24 years ago. And then yesterday, we were struck with a political assassination. These two events have something in common. Those that hate the standards and the principles and the founding institutions that we have in America. So you move from what's too often political dialogue, that moves to political rhetoric, and there are those extreme cases where it leads to hatred and to murder. That's not the role that the government should be a part of. As elected officials here in Wisconsin, we need to act. We need to be the ones who lead by setting aside political and partisan differences. Stop the gaslighting, stop the hateful rhetoric, and stop the excessive division. Today we've heard various testimony that objects to this bill as if it's the cause of division, when it is quite the opposite.
So that's it.
So when you think about that video, you're like, okay.
So Jerry O'Connor just kind of riffing on the floor of the state assembly, talking about this bill. Pretty benign.
Yeah. Pretty uneventful. Wasn't anything overtly.
Nothing controversial in that. I mean,
you could say, yeah. I mean, he is talking about the divisiveness of, potentially this flag or that flag, but never calls anything out specifically. Mm-hmm. Now, some further backstory. I know there's a lot of context, but I swear it'll all come together. The Heartland Signal, which is a dark money Dem outfit,
right?
Social media, media. So I put in air quotes.
The Heartland Signal exists, so people like Tammy Baldwin or any of the current Democrat candidates can run a headline in an attack ad with the plausible deniability because it came from a quote-unquote news source. Now, again, like you said, this is a dark money left-wing group. I think it's funded by Arabella Advisors or Hans Vorg Weiss, maybe George Soros, one of those three. Like, those are the three that when you talk about left-wing dark money, that's who they are. And so that's who's cutting the checks to former Assembly candidate Pat Kreitlow, who, quote-unquote, is the editor or runs this left-wing outfit to provide cover for Democrat candidates.
So, yes, they're an absolute rag.
It's a hack job is what it is.
Total hack job to run these controversial headlines that any normal newsworthy organization wouldn't dare print. So this is what they said about that speech. So they posted the video of the speech with this caption. Wisconsin Rep. Jerry O'Connor, author of a bill to ban LGBTQ plus pride flags from being displayed at the state capitol, says flying the pride flag will lead to extreme division that caused the 9/11 attacks and the Charlie Kirk shooting.
That is some hyperbolic extrapolation.
That is extending the truth quite significantly. And nowhere in funny enough, this is the clip that they thought was the most damning, which means there was probably other stuff that he said that was even worse, or that was, well, what I should say is worse is that was like less, or that was uneventful. Mm-hmm. This was the most damning, in quotes.
And I think it's innocuous.
It was innocuous to anybody listening to it. But essentially they're attributing this floor speech that he is blaming the pride flag on 9/11 and Charlie Kirk, which you could maybe attribute the pride flag to one of those, maybe not the other. So that being said, just a horrible, and I would hope some other Democrats would call this out too. And this clip didn't even go viral for them. A mere 33,000 views, which for them, they have 75,000 followers, seems fairly low. And I'm assuming, because their readership, the people that listen to them are as liberal as the day is long, are probably eat this up and said, I can't believe that he's only banning LGBTQ flags, not even willing to do the research showing that he's banning all political flags. And then, of course, this gets out into the ether. People get enraged. People call. People send in death threats. It's very unfortunate. And again, because of the recent violence, you have to take these threats credibly, or, Yeah, the state capitol is a pretty under secure
building when compared to a lot of its counterparts in the other 49 states and the District of Columbia. Like, it's pretty lax security, and that's not necessarily a criticism. It's just I think it's a statement of fact. So it's easier for Jerry to take a couple days off, avoid Madison for a little while. I know it's unfortunate that that's come to it because, again, these death threats, they're all coming from one side. They're not, you don't see the same thing for right-wingers to the left, at least in the state of Wisconsin.
I would
currently
love to see the expenditures for security on two like comparable people, because obviously death threats overall are horrible, bad, condemn them all. But if you're getting 10, 12, 20 death threats a day, you're going to need more security compared to maybe a one-off here or there.
Sure.
So, and there are other conservative pundits out there that have said as much, and there's been a lot of news talking about, there's these hit lists, people have put out hit lists for, Charlie's gone, that they should go for these people next, and those people need security. So I think we should be intimidated by these people, but that also means we shouldn't be stupid.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to cancel a hearing. You'll have plenty of those. Have it later. Stay home. Stay safe.
Yep. So you mentioned Charlie Kirk. I do want to touch on this briefly. I know, we talked in depth about this on an episode last week. If you want to go check out, I guess, what we best describe as a eulogy, go check that out. But I had the opportunity to attend the Charlie Kirk vigil on Wednesday at Cutler Park in Waukesha. I know there's a few others going on, including there's one in Menominee Falls tonight. I hope there's some coming up in case, any of our listeners haven't had the chance to attend one yet. I highly encourage you to, because I want to just praise the people that put that memorial in Waukesha on for Charlie. I think they did a fabulous job of blending, his political philosophy and his Christian faith together very well. It wasn't an overt political rally, the same way it wasn't, a traditional Christian mass. Like, there was a good amount of both. Great speaker lineup. I think they did a great job picking out the right people. I know Rebecca Clayfish was there, Paul Farrow was there, Scott Walker was there. I was really touched by the way Scott Walker talked about knowing Charlie, spending time, made a joke about, he was still a Cubs fan, and they got to spend some time at a game together fairly recently. So overall, really well done. I got a chance to be there. I was, closer to the front and matriculated my way over to one of the turning point tents towards the end of the night. I don't know if Shadow Gov had the opportunity to check one of those out.
Yeah, no, I was there. I was in incognito mode. So don't even try to make any assumptions of who you thought I was. Those people out there. I was incognito. I was there. I was in the back listening, and then I made my exit, my uneventful exit. But it was it was a good vigil. And yes, there was a good amount of political, but honestly, there was more religious. There was a lot of prayer. A lot of that going on, which is good. Some
good worship music. I say that as someone, as a Catholic who only knows music with organs and was written before 1700. So good music there. I want to touch on a couple things, and one of them really stood out to me was Brett Galashevsky spoke, and he's known Charlie for probably 12 years now. Asked by a show of hands how many people had come to an event for the first time, and he said 75%. I saw, a lot of hands go up to say that there were a lot of first-time, political or rally attendees there, for lack of a better word. And I was really heartened to see how many people, again, spending their first time at one of these, seen countless stories of folks who were formerly on the left or formerly apolitical, see what took place, and then go back and rewatch some of Charlie's old clips and then feel like they made the wrong decision to, either sit out politics or be on the left. And one of the things that was talked about was, I think we're over 18,000 inquiries.
No, it's 32,000.
30, so double almost double that number of inquiries to start Turning
New
Point
chapters,
yeah,
high school and colleges.
Yeah, really remarkable.
And I saw that there was something out there. Charlie's overall goal was 20,000 for like the entire.
That was his peak. That was like the ceiling, or his.
That was like the ultimate goal was that 20,000 chapters. And now we'll see how many of those 32,000 are actually materialized. Who knows? I mean, maybe they're all legit, and I hope so. I'm sure there's a lot of high school, because there's a lot of those like high school clubs as well. And think about how many hose schools are out there, let alone colleges. So
really remarkable to see the support for him, in those memorials, and now carrying it forward for that. So really, really special stuff. I do want to touch on a couple of things beyond that. Not only have I been heartened by the way the memorials have gone, but watching folks, specifically on the left, the repugnant, repulsive bureaucrats and healthcare professionals, teachers and professors, and even some students, be expelled or lose their jobs due to their comments is really remarkable, and really something that, I'm glad to see that, these folks are reaping what they're sowing, or, the FAFO thing going on right now. Really just every day you see someone, and I know there's a difference, in my opinion, there's a difference between the college professor, the healthcare professional that, I saw there was a surgeon that was fired after he tried to get a nurse fired because she was, supportive of Charlie Kirk.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Pulled the reverse card.
Yeah. To see that, but I think there's some diminishing returns when it comes to trying to get the wage jockey at Petco fired because they don't, they said something unbecoming of Charlie. But I think you see a lot of corporations right now see those that ESG governance, or those DEI hires, and realize that, this is the perfect opportunity to get rid of that dead weight, to get rid of those less than employees because they are saying these repulsive things. And
well, it's kind of like the Jimmy Kimmel thing, where he was already dead weight as it is, and this was just an excuse to cut ties. And I'll also talk slightly in a contrarian position that I don't care what position you are in society, you should lose. You should have some kind of social pain far as that, because yes, well, think about this. It's easy to say, maybe a teacher or something, or like a nurse. I mean, if you were to come in the emergency room and someone were to determine you were a Trump supporter,
and they're going to say, well, we're going to let you go. We're going to.
Well, I mean, with the reaction that we're getting, I have to imagine that they would have something in their brain just switch to saying, maybe I'm not going to try as hard.
And frankly, I can say I've had that experience at a Dean healthcare facility in downtown Madison. It was not only pre-Charlie, but pre-Trump. So it's probably close to a decade ago now. Had a small cut while chopping some vegetables, and had to go to an emergency room because I do need some stitches. And the doctor there was able to figure out, based off of just that I worked in the legislature, that I was a Republican, and was a real asshole about it. And I've unfortunately never had the chance to really get any sort of retribution, but maybe he was dumb enough to post something on Facebook about Charlie Kirk, and Dean Healthcare would fire him. But you're right. I think there's that. Said Jimmy Kimmel being dead weight, being paid tens of millions of dollars for having this very expensive TV show that's very poor ratings
for just a few people.
Disney was just gifted the opportunity to fire him. And even better than that, I don't know if you saw this, that Mark Pocan posted that he is canceling his Disney and Hulu subscription over this firing.
Fantastic.
And, in Charlie's memory, and thank God for President Trump, that they are making Disney great again by getting rid of the Disney, the left-wing Disney adults, maybe getting rid of those plus-sized park hoppers, making Disney better for families like mine just by boycotting that company. It's fantastic.
Well, not even that. That included, but the PetSmart employee should be fired.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you're a nurse, doctor, police officer, in the military. If you are celebrating the death of an innocent person, you should have some social cost taken out on you. And again, social pressures, not anything violent. This is all non-violent social pressures, because it is, if you are celebrating the death of someone, this is political sadism. Okay, this is not there as a engaging in the social compact. You agree that there are certain behaviors that are reprehensible and that should not be included in society. Well, I would include this as one of them.
Agreed.
And if people don't, well, there should be a high social cost for saying it. It's like, why don't people say the N-word willy-nilly?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a social cost
with
saying that, okay? Now, you can say it, and if people want to say it, that's on
That's
on
freedom
them.
of speech, but there's also consequences.
Yes. And so we have a social networking concept. We have a social framework that has consequences for that. Well, we should have consequences for cheering on the death of innocent people.
Now, completely agree with you, but unfortunately, I've been spending a little bit of too much time reading the comments on some of those news articles about the Charlie Kirk vigils, and one group of people has not seen any consequences, and that is the broken-brained, left-wing, brainworm, blue and on boomer retiree who now thinks for some reason they have carte blanche to say whatever they can because they can't be fired or canceled because they're retired. And, while I'm so glad that there's organizations out there and even in the state, but, across the country, pointing out these terrible people, showing their true colors, I hope someone points out the retirees that are being, reprehensible jackasses and holds them accountable. I hope if they're in your family, like they may be in mine, you consider how often you're going to spend time with them. And, maybe it's just the fact that these boomers have spent so much time raising trans left-wing millennials that they don't have grandkids and they don't have anything to share their joy with, that they've just bottled themselves up in MSDNC. And it's very sad.
They have, I do, at the end of the day, I do pity those people because, and this is, getting religious again, this is not our final resting place, maybe for body, but not soul. So we have other stuff to look forward to. Whereas this is their final dance, and if they're older, they're retired. I don't know what their life expectancy will be.
You're going to spend the last years of your life
screeching at the sun, basically.
Yeah, over a 31-year-old father of two who spent his time going to college campuses and engaging with
and being a better person than all of them.
Exactly. It's sad.
It is. So I hope that they all turn from their wicked ways.
Now, there's a little point of frustration I want to bring out again on social media post Charlie Kirk. That has been a little frustrating for me. I've been a little annoyed that there are these grifting sales outfits that are running ads for T-shirts that say freedom on Facebook. And as much as I really want one, especially want like a workout one, because the most amount of time I see people is when I'm, exercising. The rarely when I do, it's at the gym. But I want one of those shirts. But I'm trying to be conscious about buying one from, either Turning Point directly or from an organization. So if you have a link,
you don't want to just give it to some person that's just
right. That's just through freedom on a Sheen or Temu T-shirt, and
it's not going to a good cause.
Mm-hmm. And
someone who's just trying to take advantage of the situation.
Encourage folks to write in, text me directly. Send me the link to that shirt that I can actually do to support the Turning Point outfit or Charlie Kirk directly. Same way. I've seen so many Facebook posts with fake information about an athlete. I think it's regional for us, but like I've seen Justin Jefferson or Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Aiden Hutchinson saying that they're going to pay for Charlie Kirk's family for, take care of all their expenses. And, as much as I love those players, like we need to be realistic, and I hope folks listening in are going to think twice about sharing that post. That's this AI
Just
viral slop.
Yeah, engagement slop.
So check on your parents, for the listeners out there, or check on yourselves
that's
about
such
what
a nice thing that Jordan Jefferson Love is doing for Charlie. It's like, guys, it's fake.
I saw one that said that Charlie Kirk played or trained in football with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, that was actually true.
Wait, what?
Yeah, very much true. There was this whole story about Jimmy G and Charlie Kirk having like the same like throwing coach,
really,
or like similar coach.
So here I am telling people not to buy into AI or content slop.
Picture. There's a picture of Jimmy G and
Charlie
Kirk right next to each other. They're at like some camp or at practice. Very clearly Jimmy G, because he's got that very clean cut chin and black hair.
So he and Charlie Kirk played football, not together, but trained together.
Yeah, and they were like, Charlie had commented on that he thought that Jimmy G was going to be the best quarterback in the league someday.
Well, he made it to the league, which is impressive. But here I stand corrected. Here I am trying to, in real time tell folks that not to believe everything on their internet. And I become so skeptical that
unless I've been bamboozled,
I don't know. We're gonna have to look that up. Tell us if we're right or wrong on that. Send us some news.
Sure that's real.
But I there's other stuff that I know I've seen that can't be true, and that's no NFL team is leaving a seat open in memory of Charlie Kirk. There's no Charlie Kirk Kids Zone going to be opening at the Packer Stadium, and Erica Kirk does not have lifetime access to any stadium, let alone the Packers. I've just been very annoyed by the amount of folks that have been sharing that information on what they think is reputable or into groups that we're on. And then finally, I want to just say there was no conspiracy surrounding the Charlie Cook assassination. I've got this from some of my normie conservative friends, and I might have been a little too curt or too mean to them by telling them to stop listening to Candace Owens because she's just trying to capitalize on Charlie's assassination because she knew him years ago, even though that relationship is frayed, or was frayed at best when Kirk was assassinated, because she is now trying to use the Jews as some mystical, mysterious reason why he was assassinated. And the fact is, he was shot by some brainwashed, lib, gay kid with mental health issues, just the same that, a silly communist with delusions of grandeur shot President Kennedy in '63, and just the same way that fanatical, radical Muslim jihadists flew planes into the World Trade Center and Pentagon in a field in Pennsylvania. Like, there's no conspiracies around these things. So stop going down that rabbit hole. I know we as human beings want to make sense of these otherwise senseless tragedies and want to think that there is some greater thing, greater secretive organization that controls all this, and there isn't. And
one thing I wanted to say, I saw it on Twitter, and it was actually pretty funny. Mm-hmm. But the amount of conspiracy theories, like, guys, sometimes things just are real. Mm-hmm. It just is. Like, there are other conspiracy theories that have been proven correct, yes, but not everything is a theory. That being said, there was someone that posted that the Utah Valley State, mm-hmm. the amphitheater that he was in, mm-hmm. from the top down, it looked like a menorah.
Really?
So they're like,
Is that what drew the comparison or villainized?
That is not
that
is not the smoking gun. That's just like some schizo posting about like, oh, look at it, it's a menorah. He died in the center of a menorah. And then someone commented underneath that, is like, someone commented underneath it and said, I'm a literal Nazi, and this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, it is. It's so dumb. It does such a disservice to Charlie's memory and to what actually took place to try to lay blame at a secretive, again, the Jews or some other, organization.
If there's legitimate evidence to state that,
we would have known already. But we will know when all the evidence, again, is presented in court. And we will find that, again, it was just a random act of violence.
But there are some people that'll say that, oh, we can't trust the official narrative. It's like, it's kind of like this libertarian worldview, which it's like question everything, which is like, if we question literally everything, we will never make any progress. You will always be stuck at square one. At some point, you're going to have to actually govern. You're going to actually have to trust some people in the government. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't trust all the people in the government either. But being in this state where it's like I can't trust anybody, therefore we do nothing, is just not acceptable.
You're going to tie your brain in knots and come out looking like a crazy person again, and do a disservice to Charlie's memory. So with that, let's hit on one article from the state Senate that I think will count as our candy for tonight, because Chris Larson is literally making things up and Tim Carpenter is acting like a knob.
So that pretty much, that's it. That's the end of the show. No further context is needed. No. So it's important to know that there was a hearing on a bill regarding to illegal immigration and stripping illegals of health care. Now, that's kind of a misnomer because they weren't getting health care to begin with. This just kind of puts it beyond a shadow of a doubt. So they won't get it no matter what, unless it's ER, but that's an exception. So this bill was being heard in the state Senate. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the Democrats were causing a fuss about it. Senator Chris Larson made the accusation that a local illegal immigrant that lived in Milwaukee and was a constituent of Senator Larson's was dead because she couldn't reach her medicine and died as a result. Senator Carpenter parroted this as well. Turns out she's very much alive. And for those of us that have been listening to the podcast more than a couple episodes, back in June, we were talking about this. Yesenia Ruano was an illegal immigrant that entered the United States 14 years ago and has been in the United States ever since, from El Salvador, left because of gang activity, which, to be fair,
El Salvador is mostly
gangs. Mm-hmm. At least it was. Now that they have Bukele, not so much. But so she was afraid because of the gangs, so then she left and has been in the United States ever since. She was trafficked on her way here, and therefore she applied for a T visa. The T visas are meant for trafficking victims, but it seems kind of interesting that you were trafficked not because you were in El Salvador, but you were trafficked as a result of coming to the United States. So there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that would fit into that category of being trafficked. And it would probably actually incentivize people to inflict some kind of pain upon themselves via someone else to get these visas. So she was waiting for a visa, and again, this very exclusive visa, and she didn't get it, and she was asked to self-deport, and she did.
And she is still alive.
And she is still very much alive. And so the crux of this, of course, is that, to Senator Chris Larson's credit, he apologized. Said, I got some bad info, and sorry.
When in doubt, blame your staff for bad staff work.
And to make matters even worse, so Senator Larson said, I'm sorry. But then when pressed Senator Carpenter about the issue, he said an aide for Carpenter said the senator was referring to an NBC story of a woman who was deported from Los Angeles to Guatemala in July and died in September after being unable to secure blood pressure medication in her home country. However, during the hearing, Carpenter described the woman who died as a school teacher.
So he, in whole cloth, completely fabricated.
Everything is wrong.
Yeah, this idea that this was not only a school teacher, but a Milwaukee school teacher.
Yeah,
he just completely made all of that up.
There are not many facts that were actually correct. Mm-hmm. I think the only thing that was correct about both stories is that she was deported, although she's self-deported with her two kids.
If Tim Carpenter is known for one thing, it's playing fast and loose with facts.
Yeah. He was also Tim Carpenter, that's not where the story ends.
Exactly.
So same bill, same hearing. He's getting up in arms about, the way that Senator Kapenga was treating him on this bill. Senator Carpenter, I'm assuming, was asking some questions that were not germane to the bill. Senator Kapenga starts banging the gavel, and there's a nice video out there. I highly encourage you to go
Yeah, we'll
watch
link to it in the show notes.
And that banging of the gavel must have sparked something primal inside of Tim Carpenter. He lunges for the gavel and tries to rip it away from Senator Kapenga's grasp. And he pulls it away and kind of just gives this death glare to Senator Carpenter, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And in 50 states, that's probably assault. Actually,
I'm sure. I mean, in reality, I'm surprised Tim Carpenter didn't flop like LeBron James to draw sympathy, because shortly after that, looks like he called the legislation a bunch of garbage and Republican senators in the room cowards.
Senator Carpenter, what are we doing? I mean, why are we trying to take the gavel away? We're supposed to be solving our issues with debate. I mean, just because the chairman has discretion on what you can talk about doesn't mean you get to take it away.
The true night and day difference between what Charlie Kirk did and what Senator Tim Carpenter is trying to do, which is just embarrassing to himself. And I'm going to take a little bit of a different take. I feel bad for Senator Tim Carpenter because he is a 65-year-old man who's been in elected office longer than I've been alive. He was first elected in
1984.
Exactly, November of 84. That's 40 years as a state representative or state senator, and he has virtually nothing to show for it. I mean, when he's gone, whomever's the governor will lower the flags to half staff, and that's about it. I mean,
what do you have to hang your hat on?
At 65 years old, he should have at this point parlayed being a state senator and a member of the LGBTQ plus IA ampersand community into some, NGO, some sort of nonprofit, but he hasn't. He's stayed this bitter, angry old man, and he should be in South Beach, Miami right now, sipping a cocktail. But instead, he's trying to fight a state senator who was probably maybe 6 to 8 years old when Tim was first elected, about something that he was completely wrong on and made up completely. Like, it's just embarrassing at this point for Tim. Let's point out though. So, first started the pod. One of the first episodes was Dan Schaefer writing the scribe, saying that Tony Evers must step aside. And then, I don't know if it was in the article itself or in a post on X shortly thereafter, saying, because someone asked about Gwen Moore, because Gwen Moore is in her 70s and virtually useless and, pretty corrupt. He said, well, maybe Gwen Moore should step aside too. Well, now maybe we should start talking about state senators who have spent decades in public office and done nothing in that entire time. Like, maybe
it'd be one thing if you were actually successful, though.
But he's not. Like, the most he's done is sat on Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation's board of directors, where he's voted against everything, regardless of if it's good or bad. He just knows to vote against things because they were, it was Scott Walker's WEDC. Like, he has no hallmark legislation, at least in the past 20 years. Like, I'm sorry. Like, at this point, step aside.
Well, and this is
go spend your time in Rehoboth Beach.
Well, when you've been in the legislature for so long, you become part of the wall art, and the only way you stay relevant is by having screeds like this. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you recall when he was mad about? I can't remember. It's been so long, but he was mad about something.
Tim Carpenter is mad about something and acted irrationally about it.
Bad. That was bad.
Dog bites man.
Bad framing.
Sports and weather at 11.
They were on the floor of the state Senate, and Senator Kapenga, then president of the Senate, I think made some kind of germaneness ruling or something, and he hadn't challenged it, and he went up there.
Yeah.
And was berating him, and so this is this is nothing new. It's like wait a couple months and Senator Carpenter will have an outburst or something to stay relevant.
Yep.
So that's enough wasted words
on Tim.
Well, that and Senator Larson. And funny enough, Senator Larson looking like the more respectable one in the situation.
That's a rare scenario.
Who issued the retraction and said, I'm sorry, I misspoke, and didn't also get up and try to assault Senator Kapenga.
But if I'm going to pick a fight with two members of the Republican the Senate, a former cop and Chris Kapenga are not the two I'm going to pick.
Yeah,
no. You're just asking for a beating. But with that, I do want to move to the recommendation of the week. Now, that's not something that we've had recently, but want to get back into it and going to recommend a movie that is a little bit older than the amount of time that Tim Carpenter's been in office. Tim Carpenter could have seen this movie when he was, I think, 15, 18 years old and would have been elected just a few years later. So obviously, really timely to say a 45-year-old movie, but for folks who, maybe I might have texted you about this before going on air. We all need a palate cleanser after a lot of the negativity and around, and seeing the images of the assassination and reading the comments section afterwards. I just finished a book called Surely You Can't Be Serious, which is the oral history of the making of the movie Airplane. Now, Airplane, for those who haven't seen it, one of the best comedies out there. It's laid the groundwork for so many funny things that you've seen since, whether it's Family Guy or Naked Gun, Scary Movie, all of those parody movies. So much of that starts with Airplane. And that was done by the film crew of Zucker, Abrahams, and Zucker, three Wisconsin guys, grew up in Shorewood, went to University of Wisconsin, moved out to LA, started the Kentucky Fried Theater, which became the Kentucky Fried Movie, made the movie Airplane. Again, amazing stuff. You think of Leslie Nielsen as this comedic actor because of Airplane, because of Naked Gun, because of all these other things. In fact, he was a serious actor before that had a comedian inside him. Robert Stack, maybe you know him from Unsolved Mysteries if you're older millennial or Gen X guy. Hilarious in that movie. Lloyd Bridges, who went on to do some, again, great comedic work, was in Seinfeld, all because of Airplane. So go get yourself a palate cleanser. Enjoy 1980s Airplane. Great parody movie. Check it out.
I'm going to take you up on it.
And we're out. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to drop us that 5-star review where available. It really makes a difference. Show notes can be found on our Substack, newfashionconservatives.substack.com. Make sure to sign up there so you're the first to be alerted about any new content. Follow us on X at New Fashion Pod, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube at New Fashion Conservatives. Send us memes, feedback, hate mail, or wherever I can get that freedom workout shirt to newfashionpod@gmail.com, or text us via the Spotify app found right on our page. Enjoy your week.